June 5th, 1944. The clock reads 11:30 p.m. A heavy silence hangs over the dark, choppy waters of the English Channel, broken only by the low hum of engines and the occasional clang against steel. Cloaked in moonlight and shadow, more than 5,000 ships plow a steady path towards the French coast, carrying the largest invasion force the world has ever seen. Their mission? Breach Hitler's mighty Atlantic wall and force open the gates to a continent held hostage. What unfolds here in the next fleeting hours will decide the fate of not just a war, but a generation. Minutes after midnight, the first phase of the assault begins. Operation Neptune swings into action. Above the sleeping fields and forests of Normandy, the sky fills with the deep drone of C-47 transport planes. Within these fuselages wait 24,000 American and British paratroopers, some steely veterans, many just young men barely out of school. As the green lights flicker on, they leap into the void, tasked with a daring objective: seize vital bridges, crossroads, and causeways before the main landing, ensuring the vanguard won't be cut off on the beaches. But as the paratroopers descend, their mission unravels. A thick ceiling of cloud disorients the pilots. Anti-aircraft fire bursts across the skyline. The formations are scattered across almost 50 miles of countryside. Some are dropped miles off target. Battalions meant to move as one instead land as lonely clusters, isolated and surrounded. Many units lose 3/4 of their men before their boots even hit French soil. Fear wars with determination. Lieutenant Dick Winters of the 101st Airborne finds himself with a dozen men instead of 120. Yet, with what little they have, small pockets of airborne warriors gather amidst the hedgerows, resolve hardening like steel. Lost, battered, and outnumbered, they press on, knowing that the fate of the entire invasion might rest on their shoulders. Out at sea, the hours vanish. By 3 a.m., the invasion fleet gathers near the coast, its hulls a line extending to the horizon. 2,700 warships point their guns towards the shore, and soon the night is split by a thunderous barrage. 200,000 shells rain down upon the German bunkers and gun emplacements anchored in concrete. Deep underground, German defenders grip their rifles, the rumbling earth beneath their boots, a terrifying omen. But at this critical moment, Field Marshal Rommel, the Desert Fox, who built the Atlantic Wall, is celebrating his wife's birthday far from the front. In his absence, confusion will prove costly. Aboard the troop transports, 156,000 soldiers ready themselves for hell. Many are seasick, weak from the violent rolling waves that have tossed the ships all night. Each man checks and rechecks his gear. Most find time to scribble one last note home, to pray, to cling to memories of family and peace. Some stare blankly into the dark, willing their fear away, their faces etched with the heavy knowledge of what dawn will bring. Dawn breaks. 6:30 a.m., H-hour. The last moments before the storm. At Utah Beach, luck intervenes. Driven south by tides and errors, the 4th Infantry Division lands a mile down the coast, directly facing a thinly defended sector. Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt, Jr., cane in hand, eyes the unfamiliar dunes. "We'll start the war from here," he declares, seizing the opportunity. His men push inland, meeting light resistance and forging a narrow path into France. On the eastern edge of the invasion front, Sword Beach erupts. British commandos, pipes skirling in defiance, splash ashore. At their helm marches Lord Lovat and his piper, Bill Millen, their bagpipes rising above the thunder of guns. Their mission is desperate: relieve the paratroopers holding Pegasus Bridge before German counterattacks sever the lifeline. Every second counts as the tide of war rushes higher. But it is at Omaha Beach that D-Day teeters on a razor's edge. The plan goes awry from the first moment. As the ramp drops on the landing craft at 6:35 a.m., the men of the 1st and 29th Infantry face an unexpected intact German division perched high on the cliffs. Machine guns spit death. Mortars explode among waves of tangled bodies and barbed wire. The surf is red with blood, the sand clogged with the fallen. Communication breaks down. Most of the officers are killed or wounded. Wounded men, weighed down by gear, are dragged by the rising tide. On his command ship, General Omar Bradley contemplates the unthinkable, calling the attack off entirely. Yet, amid chaos, small acts of impossible courage begin to turn the tide. Soldiers drag Bangalore torpedoes to open gaps in the wire. Staff Sergeant William Courtney leads a handful of survivors directly at a machine gun nest. Private First Class Charles de Glopper sacrifices everything to shield his friends. These moments, scattered and unseen, buy precious minutes, enough for reinforcements to claw their way off the killing fields and up the bluffs. To the northwest, fresh strength surges ashore. The Canadians, hardened by bitter memories of the Dieppe raid slaughter, hit Juno Beach at 7:45 a.m. Rough seas delay their landing, ironically saving lives, as the extra half-hour allows naval guns to tear apart German defenses. The 3rd Canadian Infantry Division fights through the seaside towns street to street, clearing houses and bunkers with stubborn, unyielding fury. By mid-morning, these troops will push farther inland than any other force on D-Day. At Gold Beach, British innovation meets battlefield necessity. Hobart's Funnies, specialized tanks designed for the job, breach minefields, trample barbed wire, and bridge anti-tank trenches. The 50th Division, combining armored might and battle-tested infantry tactics, presses past the beaches and captures Arromanches by late morning. Within days, this small town's coastline will become the epicenter of Allied logistics, as enormous artificial harbors spring up to feed the advancing armies. Noon approaches. 6 relentless hours since the first boots hit sand. On every beach, Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, Sword, the 2nd and 3rd waves land in force. At Omaha, engineers finally succeed in blasting gaps through the seawall, opening the road inland. At Pointe du Hoc, Rangers cling to their captured cliffs, repelling German counterattacks and holding ground with dwindling ammunition. Within the German command, panic spreads. Cut off from his troops and asleep in Berlin, Hitler refuses to release the armored panzer divisions that could have hurled the Allies back. Junior officers, paralyzed by orders and uncertainty, hesitate. The structure buckles under the assault, confusion piling atop chaos as Allied troops steadily pour across the beaches. By midday, the outcome is decided. Allied casualties mount, over 10,000 on this day alone. But the price has bought precious ground. 156,000 men now stand ready on the fields and lanes of Normandy. The Atlantic Wall, once deemed impenetrable, is breached. As evening falls, the battered yet victorious Allies secure history's greatest beachhead against tyranny. 5 beaches hold the bridge to freedom, shadows cast long by the sacrifice of morning. Ahead lies nearly a year of brutal fighting, heartbreak, and heroics. But by sunset on June 6th, the fate of Europe is all but sealed. D-Day was made possible by the sum of countless acts of courage, by ordinary men who, for a few awful hours, became extraordinary. In the crucible of that desperate morning, they shaped the world we live in now. Their memory endures on these quiet shores and in rows of white crosses, as an eternal reminder of what was risked for freedom and what was won. If you enjoyed this historical journey, please support our channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to click the bell icon.